Chitra, Hindujas are back in news, and this time the wealthy Hinduja families are in news because of domestic servants. Exploiting domestic servants? Can you tell me a little bit about the case that has happened there?
Yes. I mean, this is they have to go to jail.
Yes.
For exploiting their domestic staff. 4.5 year jail terms for the two senior Hindujas and 4 for the daughter, for the son and the daughter-in-law. And the prosecutor has been extremely strict. He said that they were treated worse than their dogs. And Swiss media is reporting that they were kept in bomb shelters. Swiss homes have bomb shelters without any windows.
Yeah.
So they apparently were living there. Their passports were confiscated, and they were not allowed to go out of their home. So this, you should know that Geneva is there are two sides to Geneva. One is the international side. But after you cross the lake, there is this sprawling, beautiful villas. So that's where they live. And the Swiss media have been reporting about this for quite a few weeks, and rather serious stuff. And they've also got very bad press in Sweden.
Right.
Because you'll recall that we can come to it later, the Bofors case. So the Swedish radio reporters have been in touch with me. And it's, extraordinary. I mean, you call yourself extraordinarily bad. I mean, you say you're the world's richest family, 20 billion. They don't have much of a reputation in Geneva. They don't.
Right.
I suppose, yeah.
But the courts have said, okay, not the charges of human trafficking has not been, that they've dismissed, saying this is not human trafficking. But yes, everything else, what you said, still is the reason why they're going to the prison. So they will actually go and serve sentence now?
Well, they are saying they'll appeal. They are going to appeal, but it's highly unlikely. I think what you should know is that the environment today is extremely tight against this kind of rubbish, because it's absolutely scandalous what's going on. So they are saying they'll appeal. They are unrepentant. They say they've been misunderstood, and so they are appealing. But the staff, they don't know the language. They were completely like living in a prison, scared. So that's what we're looking at, and they will look like they'll go to jail.
So where is the staff now? Obviously, they've been taken away from the house. Where is the staff currently?
That has not been disclosed.
Okay, but are you surprised, Chitra? I mean, 1987 is when you broke the news, and the government came down, and Hinduja Brothers' names had come up then too. And now 2024. I mean, are you surprised when you heard this?
No, I'm not surprised at all. Absolutely, I'm not surprised at all, because they were involved in the Bofors case. I mean, they fought tooth and nail in the Geneva Court to prevent the documents from coming to India. The accounts are Pitco Sangam. Sangam is their company. Linked to them in Iran. They were the only arms dealers under the Shah of Iran. And the documents that I have showed that they were arms dealers. And there were 3 accounts, Pitco, Moresco, Muano. And then the payments were made to coded Swiss accounts called Lotus, Tulip and Mont Blanc. Yeah. And the instructions were that not to hide the names of the recipients. So the accountant in Bofors, she asked that if these payments are legal, why are you hiding the names of the recipients?
Yes.
And hence the story started rolling. So they are arms dealers. And then, on the one hand, you look at the kind of money they have. They're into, all kinds of business, including arms business. And a Geneva arms dealer from Sweden, he told me even if I drank water in their house, I'd be compromised.
Wow.
And what I do need to say is that a lot of what they do, which is to wine and dine Indian diplomats, Indian ministers in their homes in Geneva, is very open. Very, very open. They send their cars, shopping, buying Mont Blanc pens, buying jewelry, buying bags. So they do have that kind of activity.
They are doing this even now?
Well, yes. So, but after this, my guess is that, see, there are two things going on. One is the entire Indian, who go to the UN and, human rights and all that. You know what they say, gaadi wadi bhej do. But now, the Swiss are unforgiving. And he's fought very hard. The interesting bit is that the prosecutor, Yves Bertosa, is the son of the older Bertosa, Bernard Bertosa, who threw them out in the Bofors case. So there is that connection. And they fought tooth and nail in a Geneva Court to prevent the documents from going to India. Bertrand Bertosa threw it out. It went to the federal court, and then the documents came to India. What must also be said is that simply because they spent 10 years in Swiss courts, the Swiss changed their laws to say you can no longer waste time, and changed Swiss laws. So they have a history in Switzerland. They don't have a good name, absolutely not.
So, if I take you back to Bofors, you obviously were the one who broke the story. You were the one who relentlessly stayed with the story forever, trying to get to the end of the story. At what stage did you meet or did you get to interact with the Hinduja brothers, and what happened?
Just quickly, I didn't break that story. It was Swedish radio. Yeah, and then I quickly got onto it, and Jan Mosander and I worked very closely.
Yeah.
In fact, he and I are in touch now. On this, we have been in touch. Yeah. So I interacted very briefly with Prakash Hinduja, mostly socially, and I was invited to their weddings and all. But I was very, very careful. For the simple reason that I was told, if you go to their house, this house where they keep their staff and treat them badly, they slip things into your pocket. I mean, I don't know if this is true, but they can slip things into your, into your bags, and then you're compromised. So I kept a very, 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 very long distance. And if you read, there was a piece about them in the Forbes, which basically called them arms dealers and said you should sup with them with a very long spoon or whatever. So they don't have any reputation, but I'm surprised that not really surprised, the Indian media hasn't taken this that much more seriously. But then you have these documents with the CBI, and it's full of the Hindujas' names.
Where is that case, Chitra, where they're concerned? They were all, the court said, has sort of said no evidence or whatever, and,
the Indian government didn't pursue them in any serious way. The boxes have not been opened.
Right.
And that is an entire story all by itself. I do wish to sort of pedal back a bit. They also made trouble for Peter Mandelson, the British MP. I think he was a minister under Tony Blair and Gordon, Mr. Gordon. They paid to get their British passport. They paid, I think, £1 million because as a contribution to the London Dome. Right. And Mandelson had to resign. So you see, these people, they have always been buying influence, peddling influence, buying things, trying to sort of, that is their reputation.
Yes, but they weren't found guilty by the court. That's what I'm saying, that, in India, they weren't found guilty. I agree, you said there are boxes that were handed over to the Indian High Commissioner there, and the boxes are lying closed till now, but the courts have not found them guilty, isn't it, in India?
No, the courts have not found them guilty. The Indian government has never spoken to anybody in Sweden who has investigated, and they have not met Sten Lindström, who knows everything. So that, we should be looking at what have we done. And it's a matter of shame that in Switzerland you have a Swiss judge, prosecutor, going after them, whether it is Yves Bertosa or his father Bernard Bertosa, and our own people are not doing it. So that is a matter of shame. Not only is it a matter of shame because the media is reporting Indian family and all that, but it's also a matter of shame how our own courts are not pursuing this in a much more vigorous way.
Right. So how do you look at this current case that has happened, to them, and that the fact that they will be going to prison if their appeal is dismissed?
Well, we'll have to wait and see. They are saying they will appeal. But Yves Bertosa is known as, he's very strong. He sent a lot of people to prison, I mean, including arms dealers, businessmen, bankers, he goes. I mean, he's what they call a khaduta, as in absolutely brilliant lawyer.
Right.
So he's not going to let this one go.
Right. So finally then, Chitra, when you have said you were with the Bofors investigation journalism for the longest, and then it sort of hit a cold dead end because the boxes you said that were handed over had lots of papers and evidence which nobody knows what is in it as of now, and most of the people are either no more or they were found not guilty by the Indian courts. So where do you see the Bofors case today, and are you still with it, or have you now said, okay, this is it, nothing more?
Not guilty in a very limited way, not guilty in a very limited way. But we've never really had, the Indian government has not really gone after Bofors. I mean, okay, we have the evidence against Ottawa Quattroki, who is no more, Vinchadda, who is no more, but we've never really, looked at, nobody had gone and spoken to Stian Lindström. Where do I think it should go? I think we should open up the case, open up the documents. And if somebody in India thinks that, oh, the boxes are lost and all, there is, the Swiss have them. And they keep them for over 100 years. And, it's just a question of making a phone call. And you have government after government saying corruption, corruption, corruption. So then why doesn't somebody in India just pick up the phone? It speaks, it reflects on us, so it reflects badly on us.
The public has the right to know, and they should know what has happened, even if, say, most of the people whose names were part of the whole Bofors case maybe no more.
Yes, and it's taxpayers' money. It's taxpayers' money, Geeta. It's, it's 12% of 1.4 billion in 1986. It's not a small amount.
Yes.
And it's come from your tax and my tax. The Bofors thing was subsidized by taxpayers' money. So your money and my money.
Right.
So in those boxes also is sitting India's self-respect.
So just before I wrap up, I just needed you to tell me, 1987, the case broke, the story broke, you picked it up, you investigated, you took it, and 2024. How do you look at this whole time period vis-a-vis the Hinduja brothers?
I am not in touch with them. For me, it's a story. So as I
you
said,
mentioned that you spoke to your person in Sweden. What was that all about?
Jan is the journalist who broke the story, right?
The story,
Swedish
yes.
radio.
What did he say?
He said, so finally he's following it up to find out what's going on. And then he said, look, we knew about them already in 1987. And then the question is, why don't they open the boxes? Because he is the start of the story.
Yes.
So before me, a few weeks before me, he is the start of the story.
Right.
So we've been talking. There are other journalists who don't wish to be named, but they're all following this. It's a major scandal.
So and you think that after they go to the prison, that's where it'll end, at least this part of it, and that's if they go. This is how it'll at least finish. And how do you look at it in a broader perspective?
Let's wait. If they go to prison, I think that in Switzerland they don't have any, any standing, not at all. People stay away from them. I'm not sure any lawyers of repute work on their cases, and I know the conversations that go on about them behind their backs. But I don't know how it is in the UK. But definitely in Switzerland, they are not people that anyone wants to associate with.
Thank you so much, Chitra. On that note, I was always, as usual, great talking to you, and we'll come back to you as and when this case progresses or something new comes up.
My pleasure. Bye, Geeta. Bye.
Bye-bye.